Hey everyone, me Kevin here. In this video, we got to talk about the government shutdown. We got to talk about some updates on the Build Back Better plan, stimulus plan, and we got to talk about pain for 45% of Americans, and that has to do with inflation. Who is feeling inflation the worst? Folks, let's get right into this. First, the Senate actually passed the stopgap measure today. This was unexpected. We had a draft put together in the form of a continuing resolution this morning. The House earlier today passed the stopgap measure, and the Senate tonight, by a vote of 69 to 28, passed the stopgap bill, keeping the government funded through February 18th. We had a deadline where the government could shut down as early as tomorrow evening. That's Friday, December 3rd. But Congress actually pulled this off. One of the reasons the Senate was able to pull this off is because Democrats finally agreed to call a vote on Senator Marshall's amendment to block Biden's vaccine mandate for larger employers. That amendment did end up failing by a vote of 48 to 50. That amendment failed. So still no block against a Biden's vaccine mandate or testing mandate for larger employers. However, a lot of Joe Biden's mandates are being held up in the courts. Now, in the meantime, Congress is still facing the debt ceiling deadline of December 15th, and this is where sometime between December 15th and maybe early January, this is sort of a fluctuating date, but Janet Yellen says December 15th, the government would essentially fail to make its payments on its obligations. This is different from the budget, but does require us raising the debt ceiling. And so this is going to be another can that Congress has to sort of kick down the road. At the same time, Congress is going to try to move forward on the Build Back Better plan, though few actually think there's a chance to get this done in December, especially since the Senate parliamentarian hasn't even reviewed the bill yet. There are some things to note in the Build Back Better plan, specifically regarding health care. 3.4 million Americans would gain health insurance via Build Back Better. We would expand health care for children. We'd make insurance more affordable for working age adults. We'd make insurance more affordable as well for those on Medicare by improving benefits for those who are disabled and for older Americans. There are a bunch of the sort of miscellaneous changes in this, but this would probably represent one of the largest changes to healthcare in America since Obamacare was passed back in 2010. Medicare would also add hearing coverage, but not vision or dental. Vision or dental were desired to be included by individuals like Senator Bernie Sanders. However, they were left out of the House-passed version, as was the measure that would have allowed Medicare the ability to negotiate down drug prices. Now, the health provisions of this bill are expected to cost $330 billion over the next decade, and they come with $325 billion in savings. What's interesting, though, is the savings part will be permanent, the sort of expense cutting, but the new coverages will only last until 2025. So even though it sounds like they're kind of washing each other out, that the savings are washing out the spending only lasts 4 or 5 years. The cuts last for 10. So kind of interesting, funny math that Congress is pulling off. But then again, that's what Congress does to get stuff done so they can sell it to their constituents. Now, in addition to this, it's worth noting that 45% of Americans are struggling or facing some form of a hardship due to inflation. This is at least according to the latest Gallup poll on who is being most affected by inflation. Take a look at this one here. It says those with a household income of less than $40,000, 28% of those reported a severe hardship due to inflation, 42% a moderate hardship. That means 71% of individuals making less than $40,000 a year are reporting a hardship due to inflation. Also worth noting that if we look at the difference in education, if you have a college degree, you are 30% likely to have some form of hardship to inflation. And if you do not have a college degree, you're 54% likely. So substantially more likely to have a hardship with inflation if you are either uneducated or not college educated, I should say, make less than $40,000 a year, or get this one, Republicans had a 53% reported hardship against inflation, whereas only 37% of Democrats responded that they had a hardship against inflation. Some folks do wonder if this is potentially politically motivated, that individuals who are Republicans are potentially more likely to suggest they have a hardship because, well, let's go Brandon. Or is it because Democrats, potentially even on the same vein, maybe Democrats support Joe Biden and therefore they say, oh, no, it's not that bad, even though they are suffering. So a little bit of potential skew there. This was put together by Gallup, and the point here, the bottom line really, that anyone making under 40,000, potentially without a college degree, and more likely Republicans, are feeling the effects of inflation more than anyone else. So this is good news on Congress, not so good news on inflation or the progress in terms of the debt ceiling or Build Back Better, but it does give you an overall update of what Congress just got done and some pain points that people are feeling in America right now. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing, share the video, and folks, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much. Goodbye.